Can you believe that with one of these, you can sort items at up to 4.6 million items per hour? G'day ladies and gents, Cubic Meter here. I spent weeks developing my ultimate main storage concept. And the storage is great for when you need to sort every item in the game quickly and efficiently. But what if you don't want to store every item in the game? And what if you don't need the most efficient storage system? Well, as a solution to this, I've decided to channel my inner casual Minecrafter. Starting a new world, punching a few trees, wishing I had an item sorter, mining for diamond, wishing I had an item sorter, building a dumb and simple slime farm, wishing I had an item sorter. Okay, you get the point. Inventory in Minecraft sucks. But you also don't want to build a massive state-of-the-art main storage to sort every item in the game. Fortunately, there's a very simple way to sort items. Water streams, some hoppers, some comparators, and some redstone dust. And you have a bog standard item sorter which can sort out the stone from your cobblestone. And there we have it, video done. I'm just pulling your leg. Of course we ain't gonna sell for some silly item sorter that can only sort one item at a time. The issue is, we are always limited by hoppers, because a hopper can only transfer about 2.5 items every second. This corresponds to 9,000 items per hour. To put this in perspective, a double chest takes 23 minutes to drain completely while being unloaded by a single hopper. And that's boring, especially if the input to your item sorter is limited to that speed. So instead of dumping items into a chest and letting them trickle out one item at a time, why not just dump all of your items into a water stream and sort them like that? Well, I guess that answers that question. Once again, we are limited by our hoppers. However, if we implement multiple hoppers, each sorting an item simultaneously, we can drastically increase our sorting speeds. This is a concept that I introduced in my very first storage tech video, where multiple items can be sorted simultaneously in parallel. So check out that video if you want to learn more. The main challenge with this method of item sorting is making sure that every item is only unloaded once. My ultimate main storage solves this issue by using a special kind of item encoder, which makes absolutely sure that each item type is only being unloaded one at a time. However, it still allows multiple different item types to be unloaded simultaneously. It's extremely efficient, however, it's extremely large and complicated to build. So what is the alternative, you might ask? Well, amazingly, it involves the use of our little flipper friends. The idea goes like this. I have a shulker box filled with chaos. What I want to do is take the items in this shulker box and put them in their designated places. What I want to do is sort them. So what I want to do is unload the box as absolutely quickly as I possibly can. And once the items have been unloaded from said shulker box, I'm going to send them over the top of a whole bunch of item filters. And so now, if any item from that shulker box has been assigned an item filter, it is guaranteed to find that filter eventually. But then of course, what happens if there's multiple of the same item type in the one box? An item filter can only handle a certain amount of items each time, and the rest of the items go flying off into oblivion. In fact, we have to recycle the items constantly. And the problem is that item entities have a 5-minute despawn timer, which means if I were to tick warp and throw an item on the floor, after 5 minutes in game, the item will just completely disappear. But as you may have noticed, our dolphin friend can actually pick up the items and drop them again. And when this occurs, the items have their despawn timers reset. And a dolphin can do this for 4.6 million items every hour. And props to Fallen Breath, who originally came up with the idea for using dolphins to reset the despawn timer on items. So to summarize, we unload a shulker box as quickly as possible, dumping all of its items into a water stream, which then gets recycled over and over and over on top of a bunch of item filters until every single item has been sorted. But then we have a problem. A shulker box might actually have items in it that you can't sort. For example, unstackables like tools, or there might be items that you don't want to sort like rotten flesh, or maybe you don't want to sort iron nuggets. And if those items aren't being sorted, then they'll simply get recycled indefinitely. In order to get around this problem, we implement a signaling wire which tells the system if any item filter is currently sorting items. If this system receives a signal telling it that a filter is sorting items somewhere in the circuit, then what it will do is open up this return route, and this will send items to the Dolphin, which will then recycle the items back into the storage system. So this means, while a bunch of items has items in it which are being sorted by an item filter, it will continuously recycle the items until all the filters turn off, and if all the filters have turned off, we know that any items left over aren't assigned to any of our item filters. And when this occurs, we will close the return loop and then open up an overflow pathway, which will dump all the excess items into an additional overflow storage. We can also monitor the items coming in, sort out the unstackables, and store all the unstackables in a completely separate area. So this right here is my first prototype for a Dolphin-based item sorter. And as you can see, this storage system is very simple to build. In fact, the most complicated part of the storage system is this special 32 times hopper speed shulker box unloader. This absolute speed demon of a box unloader takes only 20 seconds to unload a full shulker box full of items. That is about 300,000 items per hour, which makes this storage system even faster than my ultimate main storage. It does, however, come at the cost of extra lag from all the item entities going everywhere, which can get very bad very quickly if you try sorting way too many items at once. This, by the way, is what it looks like if you try to sort an entire double chest full of shulker boxes completely full of items. And as you can clearly see, trying to sort this many items all at once is completely overloading the system. But item entities are surprisingly lag efficient in 1.17. We're looking at over 1,000 separate item entities, which is causing all of this lag. However, this method of brute forcing is perfect for if you only need to sort maybe 5 boxes at a time. As you can see, just with 5 boxes, the item lag is not really a big deal. Another attribute which makes this storage system perfect for a survival player is that it's extremely resistant to being unloaded while it is sorting items. The item filters are arranged in this configuration which completely isolates the redstone signals from each filter. The thresholds of the filter also have 2 layers of protection from being unloaded while active. I've also found that if you make sure that you build the shulker box unloader inside the boundary of a single chunk, it is also extremely resistant to chunk unloading. You also want to make sure that all components of the item filters, from the hoppers all the way to the redstone dust at the back, is inside of the same chunk. And what this means is that you should be able to go into the storage system, dump a whole bunch of items into the item sorter, and leave it without having to worry about it being unloaded. With this in mind, provided that you're vigilant and actually use the item sorter whenever you have a box of items to sort, you should be able to avoid having chest monsters full of shulker boxes of random items building up all over the place. But of course, unless you want to build these chest slices for every single item in the game, Every now and then you will have to go into the overflow and sort out the items that you haven't assigned slices for. So this storage system is a compromise. It offers extremely high sorting speeds and a relatively simple compact unit, but this comes at the cost of efficiency as well as the ability to handle much larger sorting loads. And if this storage hall seems a little bit long and cumbersome for you, why not just halve the entire length by having 2 items stacked on top of each other? It's pretty much the same amount of building in total, but it's half the size. So in case you're wondering, this particular demonstration model is 50 blocks long and stores 4 items per block, meaning in total we're storing 200 items. But of course, if all you want is the sorting method, you can simply slap it onto whatever storage layout that you want. As for the storage input, this is the same system I use on my ultimate storage. It's simply a modification of one of Command Leah's crafting stations, which has this shulker box right here, which you can throw in items, like so. And it should automatically break the box once it reaches a certain threshold. You can also go ahead and put boxes of items into this chest, like so. But make sure that you never put actual items into this chest. In case you do accidentally put items in here, fortunately, there is an item box filter right here, which should sort them out like so. And in case that you actually fill up the box, but it doesn't cross the threshold, there is also this manual override button which will force the shulker to be ejected. If you wanted to build this storage system yourself, then I'll be leaving a world download as well as a schematic down the description. But here comes the trickiest part of this sorting system. We need to do all the alignments of these hopper minecarts for this insanely fast shulker box unloader. Now in 1.17 there is in fact a much simpler and faster way to unload shulker boxes. And it involves the use of this silly little contraption made by Andrews, which can unload shulker boxes instantly. In fact, I made a variant of my storage system with it installed just to demonstrate that it works. So if you don't care about literally deleting shulker boxes, it'll be much easier to build this system. However, I'd imagine that this will be quite unideal for most people. So I'm going to show you how to align the hopper carts right now. You want to start by placing down some walls in the following configuration. Once this is done, we'll get our first layer of hopper minecarts placed down. What you'll want to do now is go through and break all the rails out from underneath these hopper minecarts on the sides. You'll then want to go in and push the minecart into the corners of these walls, like so. Once this is done, we can then jump into the middle of these 2 hopper minecarts and break out these rails like so. And then shove these hopper minecarts off into those corners. We will then want to break all of the walls, being very careful not to break any of the minecarts or accidentally push them. Above the hopper minecarts, we'll place down some blocks like so. On top of these blocks, we'll put down some pistons. And what we want to do now is encase all of the minecarts in these glass blocks. On top of these carts, we'll place down activator rails, like so. On either side of the rails, we'll then have iron bars, and then we can go ahead and place down our hopper carts, like so. On top of 2 of the iron bars, we'll place down target blocks like so, and then break the iron bars underneath them. Then we'll place down some pistons on top and just push the target blocks down. Right here we'll have an observer pointing this way, then an observer pointing the opposite way. We can then set up this simple clock circuit. On the inside here we'll have an iron bar and a trapdoor facing towards it. Now if I kickstart the clock, we have the system which will perfectly balance the output to all of the hopper minecarts. So we can just go ahead and disable that clock. Now we get to a bit of a tricky step. I'm going to start by placing down some blocks like so. Then I'm going to place down walls like this. I'll put down some rails. On top of these rails go some more hopper minecarts. When I nudge them into these walls, break these rails, nudge them into those corners, then we go ahead, remove all of the walls, making absolutely sure that we don't accidentally bump into the carts. Then we go ahead and remove all of these blocks. And now we have some more hopper minecarts resting on top of the ones below. Now we can go ahead and encase these carts in some more blocks. Once again, we just place down some pistons on top. Extend the pistons. And now, our hopper minecarts are fully encased. Also, don't forget that there needs to be a redstone torch right here. And you can see we are almost finished. What's up next is to place down 1, 2, 3, 4 iron trapdoors. We're going to go ahead and place down some blocks like so. On top of these blocks we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 rails. On these two blocks we'll have iron bars. And then we'll go ahead, place down our hopper carts and nudge these two into the iron bars. And then go ahead and break these rails and let the hopper minecarts rest down gently onto the iron trapdoors. Now for the final carts to be aligned. The ones in the very heart of the box unloader, with hopper minecarts which actually unload the box. In the very center we're going to have our sticky piston. Above the sticky piston we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And then branch out into this H pattern. Top of these blocks we'll go iron bars. And then we'll have 2 rails right here. We can then place down 1, 2 hopper minecarts. We go 1, 2 hopper minecarts. Then we'll place down a wither skeleton skull right here. You know, go ahead, give the carts a nudge so that they separate like so. Make sure you break the rails now. And now what we're going to do, place down a piston facing towards these hopper minecarts, which pushes the minecarts into the wither skeleton skull. We can then break the piston before we unpower it. Break the skull. And do the same thing on this side. Push the carts. Break the piston. Then you can remove the redstone block. Now what we want to do, remove these 4 blocks. Replace them with some iron bars. And then break these blocks right here. Now we can go ahead and gently lower all of our carts onto the piston. And then go ahead, place down 2 hoppers like so. 2 redstone blocks on top of them. And we can go ahead and place down iron bars like so. And then we'll want to grab an iron trapdoor and place the iron trapdoor in this space right here. Now, if we were to extend or retract the sticky piston, we're able to actually control whether or not these hopper minecarts are pulling from an inventory in this space. So if I put some items in here, as you can see, they're not getting sucked out by the minecarts. But if I extend the sticky piston, the items are already gone. Wow. If I go ahead and enable the item splitter, we should find that all the items got evenly distributed among all of these droppers. With all the hopper minecarts properly aligned, we can then wire up all the additional circuitry and take the unloader for a spin. There it goes. And we should find the entire box gets emptied out onto the floor right here. Perfect. So there we have it. This is the simplest and fastest item sorter that I could come up with. And in case you've seen a few of my videos and you're wondering where I'm getting all this music from, I in fact make all this music myself. And I've finally gone ahead and made a second YouTube channel where I'll be posting all of this music for you guys to listen to. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.